I'm live and I have no makeup on and I look really poopy. Bear with. I'm going to do a makeup tutorial. Let's do a makeup tutorial. This is my makeup tutorial. Bear with. Hi, everyone. Where were you on the night of blah, blah, blah? Oh, God, that's hot. I didn't realize how hot that light was. Alrighty. That looks better. Anyway, so I'm going to do a makeup tutorial. So I use L'Oreal. I've used this for years. I really like it. I need to get more. So how do we use this? So bear with. Well, I'm missing something. You don't want to see my, there it is. Do you like the earrings? So I make these, and if you'd like to know more, please go to my Underground Fairy Ko-fi, K-O-F-I, coffee.com, Ko-fi/Underground Fairy, and you can find all my jewelry or the stuff that I've got up for sale. So I use, don't they do this in like makeup tutorials? This is Dollar General brand Believe brand. Believe brand. Because I got really bad dark circles under my eyes. I mean, it's just, I look like a bloody raccoon, don't you know? So here is this really skanky sponge, and you can wet this and actually use this as a pancake makeup. But I just dab that under there so I don't look like I've been out whoring all night long. Take the shine off my nose. Now, I've got to do something about these eyebrows. I look like I've got little Hitler mustaches on over my eyes there. So, we fix that with this. Okay? So, and we draw. I found out not too long ago what microblading was. And I wish I knew about it when I actually had money to do something about it. Okay. Microblading is basically they're tattooing eyebrows on you. Now, I started to lose my eyebrows some years ago. I've always had very light thing, very, very light. Probably a hormonal thing that I don't really have really heavy hair stuff. I remember my mother used to have a little mustache because she had darker hair than I do. And I remember she would always have to wax her mustache. Okay. I have very light peach. When I was born, I had peach fuzz for hair. I had like barely any hair. I mean, literally, it was like little tiny peach fuzz. So this is my stuff that you put on your eyes. So I can do this without a mirror. This is literally my makeup routine every day. But see how nice that looks? I look like I have beady eyes. I like it when I don't have beady eyes. So, already. I don't want to look like Tammy Faye Baker here. And someone had told me that they were going to teach me how to get smoky eyes. I'm like, this is about my extent of my makeup routine. And then for the piece de resistance, this is the mascara that I use. And I like this mascara. Now, when my mother was alive, she used to go shopping at the department store and she used to get a very swanky makeup. And they would always she'd always spend enough to where you always got a gift bag. Well, always in those gift bags, they would have little samples of mascara. I didn't buy mascara for years because she would always give me these little, these little um, mascara samples. And I'm trying to remember the brand. It wasn't Clinique. It was, I'll have to look it up. Anyway, I didn't buy mascara for years because my mother always gave me this. But I really like this kind of a brush because I don't poke my eye out. See, there's a little bit of curve. I don't know if you can see that. So there's a little bit of a curve, so it matches your thing. I like that because the straight ones, I always have a tendency to poke my eye, and I go poke in my eye, and it's a mess. So I think I sometimes forget or I can't find them. So what I do is I recycle this. So I clean it off and I soap it up and I sanitize it and I just repurpose it with a new bottle of mascara. And I don't change my mascara every 3 months. So like I'm surprised I don't have more of eye infections. I just poked my eye out because I'm not paying attention. I hate this. And these things are pokey. And when they hit your eye, man, how? I mean, it's just like not good. But I used to wear contact lenses. And I could actually get disposable contact lenses for cheaper than a pair of glasses at this one place. So it's interesting. I'm kind of annoyed because the place where I got my glasses, America's Best, I got it a few years ago. I got 2 pairs of glasses um, with my insurance, and my exam was included, but I got my exam at Target. And um, see, I look normal now. I don't look tired. That's what I got to do every day, or I just look horrible. Now, I could put on, and I shall put on some lipstick. Now, I don't normally wear lipstick that much. I've bought cheapy lip gloss stuff, and it smells and tastes really funky. So I actually splurged on this, which I can't. I think this was L'Oreal too, but I got two. I splurged. I like treated myself. And so I got a nice red color. And I have lipsticks, but I was like, I want something a little bit fresh and new. And see, I don't wear that much. I hardly ever wear lipstick. But I wear another kind too on top of it to tone it down. I'm not the kind of person who's really big into makeup, and I always feel like a whore. I wore probably more makeup in 7th grade than I do now. And I don't have a tissue to I don't have a tissue to blot it. Anyway. All right. Let's try this. And that doesn't look like I've got any lipstick on. See? Anyway, so hello everyone. Thank you for bearing with me with my makeup tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. If you would like any of the products, I may or may not have listings to where you can get them in my comment section below. So it's a crapshoot. I am not going to bother with putting eyebrow, the color stuff you put on your eyes. I'm not going to bother with that because that's fussy. My makeup, along with my art supplies and my mail and all this other clutter that I have, and my altar and my desk that goes wobble wobble. I hate that. It's just I'm there's a desk. So years ago, when I first moved to where I live now, there were a lot of antique stores, and I found for like $150 or $175, a 1940s era vintage secretary desk. Did not have a hutch though. And I love this thing. And I had the money at the time. I bought it because I needed something to put on my, um, supplies. And I had it right by the door, and it's got 4 drawers, and it's got the desk thing, and it's got all the little, and I love it. I love it. However, because of the way our house is arranged, I don't have anywhere to put it. And so right now it's in the living room, hidden behind our 60-inch television, because we never installed our 60-inch television on the wall. We've got a Tonka painting, Tonka, Thanka, I believe it's called, which is pretty, but I don't get to use my desk, which has all of my letter supplies and everything, and I haven't touched it. I don't have access to it. If I need it, it's got my checks. Ugh, pain. Anyway, the other day I found on Facebook Marketplace what is probably a very similar secretary desk that has the hutch on it and she just lowered the price to $90. And I see that this was a very common, and it's got the scroll work on the top, right? And I really, really want it. And it's like close by to where our other house is. And I've emailed her because I'm like, I'm assuming that the hutch is removable so it can be moved, that it's not just one piece, but it's got glass doors and it's got shelves. And I'm like, I need this. I would sell my existing secretary desk to get that one because that one would be far more useful to me. And I don't have the means to do it, either via money or how am I going to get it? I'm kind of disappointed because I emailed her before and she never responded. And then I saw that she lowered the price $10. It was originally 100, now it's 90. And I'm kind of like, darn, and she still hasn't responded to me. And I could have gone by because it was very close and I could have looked at it in person. But I would love to have this thing. Oh my God. It would just be, it would be so, because I would sell the other one. I'm not the kind of person who likes to collect stuff. If I see something better, but the problem is that I've been having is that I am not having any luck with Facebook Marketplace at all. And I don't know where else to sell stuff locally, because that's the only place. I'm not going to ship something. I'm not going to sell it on eBay or anything. And it's a good piece of furniture. I like it. But if I found one that had the hutch, I would buy it because and I found it and I'm like, damn, that's close. And it's theoretically possible. And I'm into useful items. I have not cheapy, but I've got IKEA typical Formica shelves. I've got this stuff. One of these is an IKEA. Another one I got like a Target. And I'm just like, but I really want, and I have a really cool IKEA modular desk that kind of goes into a corner thing. And I love it because it's very simple. The desk that I'm using now, is an upgrade. I've got IKEA legs, very simple metal IKEA legs that I had purposed on. So basically, because my space in here is just not conducive. I don't know. Well, my place is a mess. Anyway, I bought a board, I painted it, and I put these IKEA legs on it. And the way I had my desk, it was kind of, it was long story short. Anyway, the board started to bow because I had all this weight on it, right? And so this guy who had a woodworking supply place, I don't know if you can see. So this is the desk that I have now. Yeah. So yeah. So that's what I've got right now. And I love this. So he had just this. This is a board. And then these are the IKEA legs. You can see they're just plain, right? And they just so I was like, I don't know, 20, 30 bucks for this top. And I was like, yeah, sure, I'll use them. And I was told, oh, well, that's gonna like bow to it. It hasn't. It's more sturdy. It's more solid than the other one. The other one was like a quarter inch. It wasn't very thick. And I've loved it. And it's great. It's just open stuff. I've got a metal IKEA drawer unit, but it is cheap, and I've overstuffed it because I've got a billion and one medications now, and I've just got all this stuff. So thus, this is one of the reasons why I want to get this hutch, the secretary thing with the hutch with the things, because then I can get all this clutter on my desk up into this section, and it can just, because I have a tendency, because I have ADHD, to have a very cluttered, I mean, I will show you. This is my desk. Okay. I hate it. It's just not workable, right? It's just not workable. I can't do this anymore. And so I really want to be able to manifest getting this secretary desk with a hutch. I want to manifest it. Like, I want everything. It's not, I mean, I could come up with a 90 bucks. It's just the logistics. And it's like it's the same size as the other secretary. And to be able to sell the other secretary and get it for this, I'm like, hello. You know, um, yeah, I mean, God, I could use it. I'm like, please, I wish I knew how to manifest stuff. I have never had any luck manifesting stuff. And, that's one of the things that I struggle with. And I was thinking about again is that, me being pagan, and I've done manifestation work before. I've done rituals, I've done magic and all this other kind of stuff. And I haven't really had I'm not very good at it. And I've been told by people in New Age circles that, well, the reason why I'm not doing really well with that is because I have such a negative, I'm such a pessimist. And pessimists don't manifest things, do they? I mean, remember when the movie The Secret came out? And that was all about the magic of positive manifestation, and that you actually had to have this positive attitude, and you have to have this positive mindset, and you've got to think positive constantly, right? That's like what's drilled into us. We're always supposed to think positive, be hopeful, have gratitude, have this, have that. These are the messages that are pumped into us day after day after day after day after day. And I've never been that kind of a person. And people are like, well, you're so negative. Like, all you do is rant and negative. I'm like, there's a lot of things that I share to people that are fun, interesting. I'm always inquiring how people are doing. I reach out, I send things to people like, hey, look at this really interesting thing. I thought you might enjoy it, all the time. And I get so little feedback back from anybody. Like, people are just like, oh, okay, like, I just don't get that kind of, and I mean, I don't want to like be trying too hard. Like, I don't want to bother people, but it's like this idea that people are like, oh, you're only negative. I'm like, you know why you think I'm only negative? Blame Google and Facebook algorithms. I'm sorry. Yeah, especially blame the Facebook algorithms, because you obviously are only seeing when I rant about something. When I post something, for some reason, the algorithms are hiding those posts, and and you're only seeing me when I'm having a bad day or I'm posting about my life. If you're seeing it at all. And then you might see that one. So it's like I feel like I'm being sabotaged by social media. And it's very frustrating. And I think that that's one of the things that I've gravitated to in doing these YouTube videos. Like I started doing them on Facebook, but then Facebook is so crummy, and maybe it was my feed, maybe because I had a bad internet connection. Now I don't have as bad of an internet connection. That and so now I'm doing them here, and I'm doing them as unlisted. I'll see if and because I feel like people can better understand what I'm saying when they can see what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. It's just like, this is one of the problems that we've always had with social media, right? And the issue, I've always been an open book. I've always been an open book. And I don't, you know, I'm not the kind of like, I'm only going to show you when I'm perfect. I'm not like that. And I think that for some people are like, why are you so open? Like there's people who are just like, why do you share all this stuff? Like, don't you care? Because they're of that mindset. And I'm always like, hey, this is who I am, And there are more people that are out on social media that realize, like, hey, I'm having a bad day. I know you see this like perfect thing, but here's me having a bad day. And I really appreciate that people are doing that because life is not perfect, you know, and it's not all, pretty rosy kind of stuff. And I understand that people are certain times raised to be more private and not bother people, or, oh, I'm having a moment, I'm going to be silent. I tend to be very vocal about it because I believe, and this is my communications major person coming out, is that I believe that the only way that society can continue to advance and grow and evolve is via good, healthy conversations. And we don't have them. I mean, maybe they happen in some circles, but I have not seen it. I don't have It's not like it is in Europe where people go out and have coffee or sit at the sidewalk cafe and have really intense, in-depth conversations about various subjects of the day. We don't do that here in the United States at all. That I know of. I mean, again, maybe there's certain circles, maybe there's certain places in the country that do that, but not in Ohio. Like that doesn't happen. People in this country are very superficial generally. They're very materialistic, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, and that's another conversation, and I'll bring that up a little bit later. But like in Europe, you always talk about like people would have like, blah, 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 and they'd have these great conversations, or the long form letter writing and like, hey, wow, I've got these ideas. And people would like, before the era of mass media, people would have the time to be able to do that. Now it's you're curating an image rather than actually communicating ideas and learning and growing and going, wow, I never thought about that. That's really interesting. Let's have another glass of wine and talk more about that. Or a cup of coffee. We don't have that. I've never had that. I've had that at times in my life, like in college. But even in college, you go, you drink. You're not having, I remember my first time I really had a really great conversation like that was in high school. I went to a party and I was really into Anne Rice and all the vampire stuff, right? And I go to this party and I don't remember who it was or what, if I was back from college. I have no idea. Like, I just remember this party. And I remember having one of my first really like grokking conversations with somebody else. And we were talking about Anne Rice. And it was like, you know, and it was an incredible experience. And I'm like, oh my God, I want more of those. I love having conversations with people about stuff. Like when you really, really grok it. And I have not had a conversation like that in a million years. You know, I talk to people on the phone, but even those kinds of conversations on the phone, it's difficult. And I would actually prefer to Zoom people because obviously I have friends that are not in my vicinity. And so I think having like a Zoom call where you're actually being able to see them is critically important. And I would be fine with that. Um, but everyone seems to like they have their own lives, they have children, they have whatever, and they don't want to have good conversations about stuff. Um, and I really wish I was born in Europe. you know, I just I am not an American. I have never felt like I have identified with American culture. I'm just not an American. I don't like sports. I don't like a lot of the cultural stuff. Apart from, yeah, okay, wow, we've got a great constitution. That's about it. Like, I mean, yeah, there's beautiful places in this country, and there's certain cities that I would love to visit and probably are far more interesting than the city I grew up in. And I have a love-hate relationship with Cincinnati. Um, yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's a very pretty city. There's a lot of really good things to see in the area. I will attest to that. I mean, it is a very interesting historical city, but it is very German, which means it's very conservative. It's been very conservative. The politics in Ohio are split somewhat, liberal conservative. Cincinnati, but Cincinnati culture is very weird in that, and this is what I was going to start bringing up about where we are raised in the environment and our experiences and how they shape our identities and how we think about the world and how we express ourselves in the world. So I grew up in Cincinnati, and apart from all my mental health issues, right? Um, well, I'll say at the outset, I had a very halcyon uh, holidays. Um, my childhood was mixed, but I had really nice, like Thanksgivings, Christmases, and Halloweens. Love them. And even my Easters weren't that bad. But Christmases and Thanksgivings were perfect. I mean, they were like textbook, picture perfect holidays in my memory. That we had fun, we had nice sit down meals. I would play with my godparents' sons who it was when my godfather died after, like, my godmother had died several years before, but then my godfather died, and I was working with them and I was like kind of sorting through a lot of their old photographs. I mean, we spent every holiday. I mean, my mother knew who would become my godmother and who was the matron of honor at her wedding. She was a psychiatrist in the area. She had her own private practice. And I have an article about her actually, because in the 60s, because her husband, my godfather, encouraged her to go into medicine, which at the time, like my mother went to medical school in the 50s in a time when women weren't really doing that. There was maybe like 5 women in her medical school class. And so, but my godmother, so I was always around really strong women. Like I never questioned, like I never saw my mother was a single mom. She was a doctor. She worked hard. She made good money. But we never lived high on the hog. I mean, she had good money. She could always pay for stuff, but we never lived ostentatiously or anything like that. Um, but yeah, my childhood, my holidays were really beautiful. We had a nice Christmas tree. I got to go see Santa. I had nice presents. They would come over. There was never any like bickering. Even when my dad was still living with us and stuff. And, I really, it was really nice. And it was this model, wonderful life, right? And we would switch off. So one year my mother would do Thanksgiving and my God family would do Christmas. And then the next year we'd flip. And so, but and it was nice, and people were sitting around, and we were chatting, and we'd have hors d'oeuvres, and like you would have your little cracker and cheese platter, and we had the nuts. I mean, it was just like everything was just so like the way people should be acting. And I'm sorry to put that should in there, but it was nice. I mean, people dressed up. You didn't go wearing like floppy, skanky clothes. I mean, my God, my God brothers, which I guess, yeah, I'll say God brothers. Yeah, they would wear jeans and stuff, but they were always dressed really nice. I always had a really nice dress or an outfit. My godmother, so when my godfather died, they wrote me, actually it was Doug, wrote me a really sweet card. And it was basically said, you are the daughter, I think it was like, you are the daughter that our parents always wanted, or something, or never had, and the sister that we always wanted, or something like that. Made me cry. Still make me cry. Being an only child is like, and sorry. Anyway, God, that really hit me this morning. Wow. Anyway, um, so yeah, so I had this really, really nice. That was some of the high points in my life because I didn't have any other friends really. I mean, I really struggled with friendships. School was horrible. I was bullied. And so I kind of had a tilted childhood in the way I saw that the world was. Because I had this really nice, secure holiday thing, you know. And once my dad left, I didn't, but I had my own struggles. But it wasn't until I started to get, and then I went to college, and that was a new environment. And so, yeah, you meet people and you start partying, and people don't know who you are. And, you have fun. And so that was kind of the first time. But then I like started to struggle a little bit, and I went to another college and made new friends, and that was fine. And until it wasn't, and then I get out of that and go to graduate school, which I didn't really have very many friends when I was in graduate school. And then after graduate school, I met this community in Cincinnati that was very pagan, and it was great for many years until it wasn't, when it kind of dissolved. And ever since that, I have not yet found any kind of solid community because a lot of my friends that I had that I would do anything with have moved far away. One's moved to Canada, another one's moved to the middle of Kentucky. It's like, and it's really hard. And I'm all the way out in Bufu land. And so trying to reestablish any kind of like, solid connection is really challenging. But going back to Cincinnati, so Cincinnati is a very German conservative city, and it's very insular. And I had a therapist who came here from Israel who lived in a kibbutz. She was in the Israeli military, and she told me, she was a person like, you should really be living in Europe. Like, this is not. And she's like, I have heard from so many clients that they struggle to maintain or establish good connections in the city because it is so private. Like, Cincinnati is the kind of city that's very conservative, and I think and like it's not like, hey, everybody, come in, let's do this, let's do that. Like, it's not like that. It's very Catholic, it's very German, which I know there's German Protestants, but it's this weird connection, and that really has it really shapes. And the other thing too is that while it was very popular as a city in the 1800s, it started to kind of ebb, and you see in the media, like anytime, like we had WNOP or WNOP, WKRP in Cincinnati as a show, but it was kind of like and this has been commented on that for many, many years, that Cincinnati is kind of like, we were always considered a small, big city or something like that. Small, big city. Because you would be able to, we had really nice things. Downtown was really nice, the whole 9 yards, but it was still small enough that you got that feeling of a small hometown, right? But at the same time, nationally, it felt like we were kind of an afterthought. We don't get big concerts here. We don't get a lot of recognition for big events. I mean, even though like P&G is here, um, like some big Fortune 500 companies are here, but it's like culturally, and I don't know what it is. I don't know. Again, like I don't know if it's just my perception of it, or if it's like, oh yeah, like we're never going to get recognized for that, or never going to get recognized for that, you know. And it really kind of colors your attitude about yourself, about how you feel. You know, do you feel seen? Do you feel recognized? Or do you feel overlooked all the time? And in my personal experience, I feel very overlooked a lot of the time. Now, that may be because of my mental health issues or whatever, um, whatever it is. I do see that. Like I always feel, and we always talk about like the redheaded stepchild. And a lot of my experiences, because I've chosen not to leave the city, I really do feel like, man, well, that's never going to happen to us. And you kind of have this really low self-esteem about yourself because you live in a place that is just always overlooked. It's always kind of marginalized. Like for years, like we've had one thing after another. Like we had Marge Schott. She wasn't the greatest person to be a spokesperson. She owned the Reds. She was this, you know, gruff West Side woman, and she would say racist things. And so that was really embarrassing. And then you had Pete Rose and the whole gambling thing. You had a lot of like big name. A we had a boycott of downtown, which is another issue that I won't even address, but we had a big boycott downtown, which really drove away. Well, actually, we had two different boycotts. The first boycott was because of the gay. There was a law that allowed landlords to discriminate against gay and lesbians in renting or, you know, selling to them or whatever. And so that was a big thing for many years. And big corporations would not, or like big companies and things, they would not have um, world class conferences. Okay. You know, when you have conferences and stuff like that, they would never come to Cincinnati. Everyone would always overlook us. So like that was big in the 80s. Like no one was coming here. We were just, yeah, we're not going to come there because you're a backwards ass city and you're discriminatory. And it was really frustrating. It was just like, I remember that. And it really, it was kind of a, people wouldn't perform here. I mean, you see this in other cities too now when they do something and it's like they've got a really antiquated. I mean, we had Silease, who was this horrible freaking. I mean, we are like I think Cincinnati is where the modern pro-life movement with the Wilkies. I mean, just over. And we had the Mapplethorpe exhibit. That was a huge national issue. I mean, you had the Citizens for Morality. I mean, we have all that crap here. And it clouds you because you don't, it's not inclusive. and it drives a lot of more progressive, interesting, vibrant art and work. It's slowly changing, fortunately, because I think Siley's died or he stepped down. You know, and Cincinnati's always a little bit more progressive and liberal than the county of Hamilton. But it's that all that stuff, all that conservative, stodgy, negative, puritanical crap drove away a lot of really vibrant, interesting art and opportunities and everything. And growing up in a city like that, it's really apparent. You see bands going to Cleveland, or going to Pittsburgh or going to Chicago, but not coming to Cincinnati. And it was really frustrating. And it still is really kind of like that. Like every time I see anybody really big, they never have fucking Cincinnati on there. They'll go up to Cleveland, but they won't come to Cincinnati. And it's frustrating. I mean, yes, we have had big acts here, but we've had the Who concert. It's just like, I swear this area is fucking cursed. It really is. And so that all those experiences living in a city like that, um, I'm like noticing the time, like I have 40 minutes on there. It really shapes your attitude about yourself. And I've noticed that. I have really low like self-esteem. And then I work at an agency where that has been kind of the culture too. It's a nonprofit. Nonprofits, yes, they're needed in our society, but working for one, it sucks. You're not going to ever make any decent money. Um, and it's while for many, many years up until the pandemic, well, a little bit before the pandemic, it started to shift right before the pandemic and then went down again. We had the worst morale. I mean, at least on my perspective, it was very cliquish and an insular agency. We have multi sites now, but it just felt like, oh, we got to watch our budget. We got to watch our budget. No, 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 no. Like I've been told that in my position, like I would have these great ideas and hey, blah, 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 blah. And like, yeah, we don't have the money for that. We don't have the money for that. Well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. You know what I mean? Like you've been told your entire life, no, 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 no. Yeah, that's not going to happen. They're going to overlook you. Like culturally, like bands don't come here. Opportunities don't come here. You know, my neighbor has these bikes or something. And like, wow. So you're going to hear this like revving. Oh, it's so annoying. People, do you hear that? Like, what the hell? It's annoying. Like people are burning. It's like a beautiful day and people will start burning crap, which they're not supposed to do. Anyway, and it's not just refuse. It's like garbage. So I don't know if that's going to be, I may have to close my window. Anyway, but I've noticed how that really has shaped my own personal feelings of self-confidence. Pardon me. Amazingly, the windows shut out a lot of sound. Has really shaped, how you feel about yourself, how your identity, how you look at the world. Do you have self-confidence? Do are there opportunities for you? And I can understand how people who live in even smaller towns desire to go out. But for someone like me who has major anxiety and overwhelming stuff, I never left. I had thought for a time, there was a couple of opportunities where I was like, I'm going to move down to Charleston, South Carolina, where my family was from, because it was right out of school. And I thought, I really like talking about history. That would be a great place. That would be a great fit for me. And I could do those tours, the horse buggy tours, which I know are not really great for the animals. But I thought I'd be really good at it. I still think that because I like to talk and I have a lot of really detailed stuff. So I think I would be really good at being a tour guide or doing this. But of course, I never did anything like that. So I could have moved down to Charleston. I just never moved. I never wanted to leave my mom. And so I just got stuck here. And now I'm living in Trumplandia. And yeah, it's hard. And when you're somebody that has mental health issues like anxiety and ADHD and some other stuff, it it's increasing a barrier, because like if you already have struggle, like if you have an environment that is not conducive to those types of activities, breaking through and really motivating yourself to go out and engage or creating opportunities, it's hard. It's just like endlessly hard. And it's it's just really made life a lot harder, because I live in an area that's not like that. Then you add on to the whole pandemic, you add on the issues around social media, how there's this big trend where a lot of people feel very isolated, and we don't talk to people anymore. We don't communicate. And there was a book many years ago called um, something about bowling, and bowling alone or something like that. And it was basically how a lot of the activities in society that used to bring people together are no longer there. I mean, things that you would do because people are busy doing whatever on the internet, or doing, and myself included, but again, like that's all that you got. And so I it's just like, and if you are fortunate enough to marry into a family, or have had those established, and you don't have these issues, it's fine. And I know that there's some people who have really bad experiences, of have a very toxic family and friend dynamic, and so they suffer from it, and they're like, I want away from it. And I'm kind of in the middle. I mean, I like having my alone time. I need rest. That's what makes me sort of an introvert. But I like to engage with people, and I don't get that at all. I don't get chances to really talk to people, to hang out, to relax. We don't have parties. We don't have people over. I had neighbors, so this is really frustrating too. When I had my first house, there were a couple of neighbors down from me. There were a couple, they had young children, they had a party. And I thought, oh, wow, this will be really nice. They'll have parties, we can hang out, blah, 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 blah. Well, they got a divorce like shortly after I moved there. They had one party I went to, I got to meet people in the neighborhood. And then, like a year later, they were divorced. And it just, the whole dynamic changed. And I had an old woman on one side and another woman who ran a daycare center on the other side. So I didn't really, again, my opportunities for getting to know my neighbors and hanging out with my neighbors, that never manifested. That never happened for me. And when we moved out here, same thing. There was a family next door to us, but we've never hung out with them. Like, it's just not like, you don't hang out and, hey, well, we're gonna have a party and have a cookout. It's just never, none of those things have ever happened. um but yet it happens for other people. Like, I had another set of friends who, they move into their house, and they had several couple friends that they used to have game night, they used to eat and potluck and do all that kind of stuff all the time. And I'm like, why didn't that ever happen to me? Like, nobody like reached out and said, hey, you want to come over? Oh, hey, blah, blah, blah. No one ever did that for me. So, I mean, it says a lot about how people really feel about me. You know, I'm just saying. It's either they assume that I'm going to be busy, or they don't think about me. But that's really kind of shaped the way I really look at the world. And one of the reasons why I'm very depressed, and the pandemic really kind of put the kibosh on it, you know, kind of put the nail in the coffin of probably ever having, because I started to get out. Again, and this is literally my experience. Every time I have tried to go and do something, be engaged. Like I was like, oh, I want to like have a letter writing group because I was really into letter writing. Or like, okay, well, okay, let me sit up. Like I want to go do something. Well, I need to go out and find people. So join a book discussion group. So I would look around, and there was a coffee shop nearby this one place that we have down in this area, and I was like, I should just hang out there more. It's cool that we have a coffee shop. Well, I went to a couple of events that they had. She had a little mini bookstore in the coffee shop. It was a cool place. It was very cool. And I was like, I need to start getting into the habit of coming here and hanging out so I can meet people and talk to people and be involved. I mean, I know that I'm motivated to go and um, do these things. But like, so I went to a couple of things. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go do this. It'd be great, do the whole book discussion group and meet people. And, I'm really, really craving for this. And then the pandemic happened. And I wasn't really going, hey, wow, how can I connect? And again, the same thing. Like, I didn't have besties that were saying, hey, let's do FaceTime or let's do a Zoom meeting or a Zoom get together or blah, blah, blah. I had no one. No one. And I'm like looking at this, I said, what you hang out with your friends online and chat and do these little parties and game nights online? I mean, never happened for me. I didn't know anybody. I mean, I tried to do that a little bit, but it was like I just didn't really get the energy that felt like, hey, wow, yeah, we're doing this. Like, so again, like I'm very motivated. Like I would really like to sit down and have good conversations and have good discussions and all this other kind of stuff. And I don't have anybody. Like it just, and I'm 54, and the trends are basically that once you get older, it gets harder and harder and harder to go do stuff. Now I have very little money to do anything with, and I don't have a lot of time. And um, I have a mental health support group. That's it. I talk to a few friends occasionally on the phone. And yeah. So it's hard. It's very, very hard. And I'm just putting that out there because I don't think that it's really fully appreciated. Because if you were one of the people that is popular and you have a lot of friends and you just people like you and you hang out and you do all this other kind of stuff, wonderful. But a lot of other people struggle. A lot of, it's very hard. And I've obviously partly it's because of my mental health issues. I don't, they talk about how, and I'm going to stop it because we're getting to be an hour, and I know people don't want me talking for an hour. That, that's loud. Anyway, that when you have something like borderline personality disorder, that energetically well, this wasn't even with that, it was with trauma. It was the Dr. Bruce Perry book that he wrote with Oprah, that's entitled What Happened to You. And I need to get the physical book because there was a lot of really, I listened to it. I need to get the actual physical book because I want to mark it up. And there was an area in there that talked about how people who have trauma and dysregulated nervous systems, like myself, have a tendency to increase and create even more problems in connecting with people. So I have a very dysregulated, a very hyperactive, very intense, and that intensity, that energy comes out in certain ways. And a lot of people they don't gravitate to it. They're like, oh, you're just like, you go over there, And it's just the energy that I've been told that like I need to quiet my voice, that I'm too exuberant and too, my energy is very big a lot of the times. And I've been told on numerous occasions to kind of tone it down and, hey, like you're talking too much, or, and that really, I remember having a meeting. I was doing a permaculture meeting, or no, I'm sorry, it was a transition town movement meeting. And someone had asked me a question, and myself and this other woman were running it. And I started talking about like answering the question and having a discussion about it. And she interrupted me and she's like, well, that's blah, blah, blah. And basically shut me up. And it was so pronounced. Like I broke my ties with her and I said, screw you. Because I was like, it was so rude. It was like, I felt like she was saying, you're talking too much. You need to shut up, you know? Um, it's hard, because I know that that's what people, they're like, oh my God. And I'm always like thinking in my head going, am I talking too much? Am I talking too much? Am I talking too much? Are you talking too much about yourself? Like ask the other person the question. Like talk about other people. Don't talk about yourself so much. I mean, this is like this dynamic. And I know people go, well, why that's so strict? You must be a narcissist. You must be so egotistical. And it's hard to hear that because I'm not, but it's just my mental health issues. And when I started getting on TikTok, I realized, oh, it's not just me. It's actually what this is all about, my mental health stuff. And that's why I talk about it, because I know that no one's probably ever going to see these videos unless I send them to them. But people just, yeah. And I like to talk long form. People don't have time to listen to an hour long woman blanding online. Okay. So, yeah, so we're up to an hour. I mean, enjoy the day. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for joining, and I'll see you later. Thanks. Bye.